Well, it's finally here. After what, like 5-6 months of waiting? Episode 2 of The Coffin of Andy and Lele is out. So, does it live up to the hype train that's been developing for the better part of a year? Well, short answer, yes, go play it. But, let's get into it. Wait, first I should say, there will be minor spoilers in this video. I'm not going to do an entire analysis of the game's story, and I'm not going to give you any footage that's from the final act, because I really do want you to go play it. And also, we got to support the creators from the games we like, eh? Okay, so what are we talking about? If you somehow wandered into this video without knowing anything, let me bring you up to speed real quick. The Coffin of Andy and Lele is an episodic game focusing on the marvelous misadventures of our titular characters, Andy and Lele. This game has gained some notoriety for featuring some downright disturbing and maybe disgusting sequences where our characters have to do whatever it takes to survive. Our dynamic duo was trapped in a government-mandated quarantine, locked in their apartment for months without food. And throughout the course of episode 1, the game explores to what lengths a person might be willing to go to escape. Now, the surprising thing is how well this game handles this sort of psychological horror, but I think the real appeal of the game is the interesting characters. The creator, Nemle, has some real writing chops, and Ashley and Andrew's dysfunctional relationship really comes to life. And overall, the game is an excellent example of how characters that are objectively bad people can still be very compelling. Okay, time to dive into episode 2. So we pick up the story about a week after where we left off, and sadly, although Andy and Lele may have escaped their previous predicament, their troubles are far from over. The duo basically can no longer use anything that would identify them from their previous lives, as they are now fugitives, and with no way to make money, they're lying low in a seedy cash-only motel. So we're wandering around free now, and the world of the coffin is being expanded upon. As usual, there's all kinds of flavor text you can get from examining stuff, and there's plenty of lore tidbits you'll be able to pick up that really expand upon and flesh out the universe. By the way, the new music slaps. And guess what? As promised in the devlogs, the gameplay is now split, about 50-50 playing as both Andrew and Ashley. Throughout the course of the game, you'll switch back and forth between the two as specific story events unfold. I really enjoyed this as it opens up the story to be a little broader when you can see the action from two different perspectives, and this becomes a definite strength of the game because all of the flavor text changes to be from the perspective of whoever you're playing as. This gives us a delightful little insight into the inner workings of the minds of our two main characters, and gives a game with a lot of personality already even more. Anyway, so Andrew is pretty paranoid that they're gonna get caught, and he's been religiously watching the news in the past week. Nothing so far, and when Ashley finally gets tired of bothering Andrew, you can sleep, only to have a vision. So the trinket Ashley got from the entity in the previous game comes in handy when she gets a vision of a hitman coming into their motel room and disposing of the siblings rather unceremoniously. Fortunately, this brief moment of prescience allows them to quickly flee and escape their grim fate. Now, while escaping the hitman, Andy and Lele notice a cultist that looks awfully familiar. So they decide that Angie will go check out that scene, and Ashley will stay and see if her vision comes true and if a hitman will show up at all. During this scene, Andrew has a little covert ops scenario, and we get a really funny scenario where we get to see Andrew's personality without Ashley around. And it turns out, he's pretty suave and confident. I spilled some coffee. Look how cocky Andrew looks. What? Am I in the way? Look at this. Dude, what gives this guy the right to be so cocky? He's in the belly of the beast, so to speak. Who knew, right? Anyway, after this fun sequence, we go back to the matter at hand. The hitman, who does indeed show up, proving that the entity was honest about the gift. How are we going to deal with this situation? Oh wait, that's right. Ashley has a gun. No one is safe. The world isn't safe. It's nice that all the details from the first game carry over. Ashley's still got the gun from the warden or the lighter Andrew gave her. Even though it's been like a half a year since I played the first episode, these details make the story feel very continuous. Also, I refuse to believe that the batteries I'm still saving in my inventory from the first game aren't going to come in handy someday. I know it's going to matter. And speaking of mattering, this is another game where the details matter. And I know I say it all the time, but it's true. Like, look here at the motel room they're staying at. Ashley clearly has stolen both of the pillows from the beds, forcing Andrew to sleep on the couch, which is a nice little insight into their relationship. I love reading all the dialogue from examining stuff as both of our characters, and there's some actual intrigue into what's going on that makes me really curious on where the story's headed. Like, just what is this sinister water company doing? Who exactly hired the hitman and why? Why did the government try to cover up the quarantined apartment situation with a fire? Episode 2 is really fleshing things out, and it's actually much longer than I expected. There's a lot of content to cut your teeth on here. I've played the game twice already and found tons of stuff that I missed the first time, and there's also a bunch of stuff that's just straight up different depending on the choices you make. So like I said, the game oozes personality, and that charm and wit that were present in the first episode definitely return here, so everyone that's just playing these games because they like the main characters will definitely be happy. It's actually sort of interesting to see how much of a fan base this game seems to have garnered. Because if you were to describe the main vibe of this game, you'd probably say it's a psychological horror game with a dark sense of humor. But if we're using those type of descriptors, then I'd say the humor in this game is a black hole event horizon, Vanta pitch black. This game is fearlessly edgy and almost to the point where I'd call it transgressive. But despite the honestly shocking material, it's refreshing in a weird way. We live in a culture where it's basically a second job everyone has to not be offensive, and this game makes no such attempts. It honestly transported me back to the early internet days where things were pointlessly shocking or gross just to be pointlessly shocking and gross. In fact, I'd say this game is now riding the fine line of just how much vile stuff a character can do and get away with it and still be likable. There's some pretty stomach-churning stuff in this game, and it's certainly not for the faint of heart. I would say it even dials up the shock factor from the previous game, so I'm definitely interested in how this episode will be received at large. Alright, elephant in the room time. I know what you're thinking. Yes, Darcy, the game is good, but does it have it? Is it in it? Does it happen? Well, let's take a look at this interesting graph from my recent livestream where I played the whole game. Take notice of a very suspicious spike in chat activity right here. What were they so excited about? Anyway, it's good, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart. I guess we'll see how it all wraps up a million years from now when episode 3 comes out, and we can sink our teeth into a full post-mortem. Go play it. But if you really need to see it, or if you're poor like me, here's the full playthrough I did on stream with my first reactions of the game. And we're probably going to do a follow-up stream where we get the other ending and find all the secret stuff later. Alright, the end is nigh. Doom Prophet out.